Okay, we'll call to order the Chisholm City Council meeting, June 11th, 2025, 5:30 PM. Susan, would you please take roll call?
Counselor Halaba?
Present.
Counselor Taunton?
Here.
Counselor Bobby?
Here.
Counselor Barda?
Here.
Counselor Halverson?
Present.
Mayor Lamb?
Here. And council, look for a motion to adopt the agenda. We have just two changes. We're gonna remove E2 under Stephanie. Take that off, and under myself, add a number 3, which would be schedule a working session. So with that removal and addition, I would look for a motion.
Motion.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Travis. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Pledge allegiance, please. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, public participation. Councilor Holliva, do you have anything over there?
Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Akey, would you come on up and talk to the council about what you have on the agenda tonight?
Hi, my name is Joshua Ike, Ike Contractors. We are looking for a variance to have, we're gonna be playing some music over at Tom and Jerry's on the deck. We're looking to have like a citywide festival, but liquor sales be contained at Tom and Jerry's. And then with the noise ordinance and whatnot, we're looking to hopefully go till 1 o'clock or midnight if that was doable. Looking to try to get some local talent up there. We're looking at pretty much 1 p.m. to 1 a.m. Bar close, and I guess kind of what we're looking for. Would like to block off the street between TJ's and Bark Design, kind of how they've done that before, with some tables and whatnot, and kind of about it. Just looking for permission.
Okay, that's just gonna be from Lake Street to the alley there?
Yep.
Yeah. Band, DJ?
DJs, we do have some local talent that might be able to be bringing some guitars and stuff, but everything's up in the air, so kind of had to get something set in stone first, so.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Akey?
What's the date again?
July 19th.
So you're calling for the city festival just to be that half block?
Yep.
Well, I prefer full city festivals, but. We're gonna have to discuss it.
I know when I talked to Josh, kind of the thought process was going to that way, the liquor sales, everything kind of stays exclusive to Tom and Jerry's.
Yeah.
Because of the ones hosting and,
Yeah.
doing the work of putting on the event.
Correct, yep. That's what I guess we were looking at.
Okay.
And I know, from what I looked at, it didn't seem like Jim's was having anything that weekend, so it's kind of not trying to interfere with another bar or whatnot, so.
Nice. Good thinking.
What's the event for again?
Just try to get local talent, play some music. It's a young one's birthday party that night too, so telling her it's her birthday, so.
No. Cool. Excellent. Thanks.
Yep, thank you.
Josh. Okay, moving on, council reports. We'll start with you tonight, Marty. Good evening.
Good evening. One thing that we have to report on is we had a mountain bike race, which was a big success. I didn't get the final number on how many participants there were. But then I've also been out with Larry and the builders and Cabral is looking at our repair job on the North Rim and some usual maintenance and stuff to go with it. That's all I have.
Thank you. Jim, good evening.
No formal report.
Travis, good evening.
Good evening.
So just a couple things. I just got back from girls state track, so I want to mention that our girls 4x1 team did set a new school record, 50.89 seconds, which was beating the old record by almost a full second. So kudos to them. To go along with girls state, I want to send a thank you to the EMS, the fire, the PD for our send-off. We all that were down at girls track felt like it was definitely the best one that we've done to this day, with the amount of vehicles that we had. So the girls were very thankful for that, so thank you to them. I also want to give a plug to our ambulance personnel. There was a day last week where we had all 3 ambulances active at the same time, which is very impressive, and kudos to our staff for making that happen. And lastly, I just have a quick update for the chamber. Just a reminder, Doc Graham Days is coming up. That is July 30th through August 3rd, and the parade is at noon on August 2nd.
Travis? I hate that update, you know, it seems like summer's over by the time you start thinking about that.
That's okay. Smoke and fly.
Easy. Okay, April, good evening.
Good evening. I just want to wish happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there and grandparents and fathers that are being fathers that are fathers, you know? So happy Father's Day. I attended a webinar through the Minnesota League of Minnesota Cities on municipal fee expenses and reporting, what cities need to know, and also the 2025 League of Minnesota Cities legislative recap. There's just a little bit about that. They are going to increase housing budget, so that's a good thing for us. The Minnesota paid leave law goes into effect January 1st, 2026. And then they're also, this might be something we might want to look into, with community tree grants. So, hey, you never know. That could be up your alley. And then during United Way is sponsoring the summer lunch for kids. It's free Monday through Thursday, 12 to 1 at Kiwanis Park. Thank you.
Thank you, April. Jed, good evening.
Good evening. I caught the tail end of the EDA meeting this morning, and then I took a tour of the hockey arena and the curling club. Got to see some progress in there, got to see all the gravel, how it's all laid out and stuff, so Ed Chamonix gave me a really good tour and see the progress going there, so pretty excited to see that in about a month or so, what it's going to look like, so it's no big deal.
Thank you. Only update I have, I was at the EDA meeting this morning, but on Monday, we did have a public hearing for a variance request at the planning and zoning meeting, and that was passed, so that will be coming to our next meeting in July for council approval and review. Moving on, ambulance director, Tiffany, good evening. Fire chief is gone, so I'm just got a couple things I forgot. I'd just like to thank our fire and EMS for taking part in the safety town. They were at both, and ambulance, we had our EMS service. We also had Lifelink come and land the helicopter for around 70 kids that were in safety town this year, so it was a nice, fun event. Police chief. Jim, good evening.
Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you for the opportunity to be here again. Just a quick report from us. You stole my thunder on the Safety Town program. What a great program for kids. My youngest is in there this year. All 3 of my kids have gone through it. What amazing job that group of people do with kids and awareness for safety, not only for the kids, but parents and then everyone involved. So our officers, along with our great EMS and fire departments, were also involved with that. So outside agencies too, I just want to thank St. Louis County Sheriff's Office, Lifelink, Hibbing Police Department, Canine Dottie, and Minnesota State Patrol, and who else? And the DNR for participating in that event as well. So busy time of year for us. June is always kind of a somber month for our police department in that this Saturday marks the 22nd anniversary of the disappearance of Leanna Warner. So for those that have been around the town like I have, it's been a difficult case. It's ongoing. It's very important to us. So we try to draw awareness as much as we can this time of the year for that case, letting everybody know that it's still active, open. We still take leads weekly. I personally have investigated hundreds of leads, and we just want to draw awareness to the public. And no matter how small the details are, if you know something, hear something, or may have thought of something from back then, please let us know, and we'll follow up on it. So with that, I have nothing else unless somebody has any questions.
Thank you, Chief. City Engineer, Jim?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. First, I'd like to introduce again from 2 weeks ago, Matt Este from TNT Construction, who is our contractor on last year's Fifth Street project as well as this year's Fifth Street project. Matt, if you would give us a brief update, please.
Thanks, Jim.
Hello again. So I guess the only thing is everything's going pretty smoothly so far. A couple hiccups with a lot of old stuff coming from the school that nobody knows what it is or where it is, but besides that, it's been going pretty good. So tomorrow we'll be doing our water main tie-in on 4th Avenue and continuing up there, and hopefully 2 or 3 weeks, well, probably majority, if not all, the pipes should be in, and carry on the sidewalks and curb and get it done.
Jim, is the tie-in at 2nd Avenue on the east end?
The water tie-in on 2nd Avenue.
Yeah, so we can hopefully get that intersection reopened up. Right now, we've got both 2nd Avenue and 4th
Yeah,
Avenue.
and that's kind of my goal. I'll get that tied in, and then we can open that 2nd Avenue back up, so at least vehicles can go through there.
And then in that same regard, with last year's project, virtually that's done, other than waiting to finish some sodding. Once we can get some sod, there's some sod work to be done, but otherwise, the utilities, streets are all done and ready to go.
Yep, punch list is done too, I believe, so
Yeah.
that's checked off the list as well.
Thank you.
Any questions from that?
So what's the plan of action with these old utilities from the school?
So we've come up with a couple solutions, but some of them we just ran into this week, so there's still some decisions to be made about some of the storm sewer coming off the
Do they
building.
look like they're still active, or they?
Yes, a couple.
Go ahead, you were there, Matt, so
A, cou- a,
explain what
cou-
we found yesterday.
a couple of them, they were clay tile services. I believe that they were drain tile that go around the footing of some of the building, and they did seem active still.
And we'll tie those into the storm sewer system,
Yeah.
Were they tied into the?
sanitary sewer system. That when we did the smoke testing, Larry, 3 or 4 years ago, that was our biggest culprit. Was primarily we thought it was roof drains, but
Maybe drain
we're
tile.
looking at drain
It's-
tiles.
It seems to be drain tile to me.
There was pretty common practice for housing too back then too.
Absolutely, and some of the old houses that we've ran into have that old clay tile, drain tile all the way around their footings too.
A lot of them used to go to the cemetery.
And these ones that we found did go to the sanitary, but obviously you can't do that anymore, so we have to
Well,
come
good.
with a plan of action.
Good to get that corrected.
Yes,
Did Jim say you're gonna tie in on the east side of 2nd Avenue?
it would
No,
actually,
at the 2nd Avenue
At-
intersection.
Oh.
just right in the intersection, it's actually gonna be a four-way cross tie-in.
That's new blacktop on it.
Oh, no, not on the far side, no. No, the new blacktop will remain there.
Okay.
Yeah,
With last year's project, Jim, water main is in that north boulevard like it is in much of the city. But we had to bring it out into the street to tie into the old 4-inch line that's there right now. And what we'll do now is go back and tie into where we had that 45, where we, in alignment with last year's project, we'll tie in at that point now and extend. So
yeah, exactly.
we'll get that tied in and get that intersection reopened.
Because he knows those others, that 900 pairs on the east side of 2nd Avenue, so.
Oh, yes, yeah, no worries there.
questions?
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And then next, I'd like to introduce Ellie Lemke from SEH, who is the project manager on this Fifth Street South project, this year's project, as well as on the Mill and Overlay project. And we had a pre-construction conference on that this morning. So I'll let Ellie update you on those, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As Jim mentioned, we had our pre-construction meeting for the mill and overlay earlier today. So far, the contractor plans to start prep work on Monday and then dive in with the milling on Tuesday, hopefully paving by the end of the week, and weather dependent, they should actually be done end of next week or early next week, so should be pretty quick. And I know Councilor Halverson had mentioned some drainage around 2nd Street and 7th Avenue, so we'll be taking a look at that as well and hopefully getting that improved as part of this. Any questions?
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Jim, you're out of time.
It's your lucky night. And in that regard, the contractor is going to be posting no parking signs. He was talking about doing it today. We kind of encouraged him to wait till the end of the week. More might be still there Monday morning. But we did prepare a letter here at the city and sending it out to all those residences that are affected along 4th Street and along 7th Avenue that there'll be no parking 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, or until the project gets done if it gets delayed because of rain. The two other updates I'd like to give you. One is on the aggregate crushing that was completed last week. We ended up with about 17,150 ton. So we'll be bringing that to you at your first council meeting in July for approval of that. And it came in at just over about $151,000, which was kind of the target date that we had set based on the bids and the money taken out of our street maintenance account. And then the other item is in regards to the ice arena. We did not have a status meeting this week, but Ken Sellers of InBuilt sent a memo yesterday, and I'll just give you a quick update on that. Curling club floor is graded to 14 inches below the surfacing, and the new floor work is to start any time now. Drain tile in the curling club installation started last Friday and is ongoing at this point. Within the arena, 3 of the corners, and somebody that was here today maybe has an update on that. 3 of the 4 corners are poured and the pipes installed to the center of the floor. Installation of the refrigeration pipe will happen this week. That piping that goes over to the curling club has been stubbed out to the parking lot area. Installation of the pipe in the equipment room is to finish by the end of this week, and commercial refrigeration will be back in full force next week to start work on the floor. So that is my update on our ongoing projects.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Any questions for Jim? Public Works, Larry? Good evening.
Evening. Let me start off by apologizing for flooding you with all the data that I did in one council packet, and I'll try my best to facilitate the high points of all the data. You know, you're looking at one report that's 9 pages, one report that's 27 pages, and, you know, many different degrees of knowledge and experience in the room and care, right, and things like that. So with that apology, and then may or may not have, could have tried to do a little better on presentation in the council packet for you for review. Last week was a rough week. I had a day surgery, and then we had a council packet deadline. So remotely, I remoted in, did what I could, and got you the information. So let me start off by apologizing for that, and then presenting today in a timely manner so we can keep this kind of moving forward as we go. So if I could just share then with you just my highlights from work order number 1. And this is I&I. This HR Green study was focused on I&I, this work order number 1. Okay.
You want to do this in your report here, or you want to do it?
Oh, I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself. I was. Look at what I'm doing here. Actually, this is yours.
Anything else going on? I know.
Oh, I'm sorry. So, okay, I did get, I've been thinking about this all day. Anyway, I did want to highlight a couple things. MnDOT is working through, the highway. I did want to give a short tale on that. So, I've already gotten some feedback. It's not what we expected, blah, blah, blah. I want to highlight that project, that stretch of highway has to last at least 8 years, 6 to 8. And with legislation, things that happen in St. Paul, let's call it 10. So they're doing a cap to try to save that section of road for another 8 to 10 years. So what they're doing may not be amazing, but it's pretty good. It's a lot better than what it is. So the rideability is there. It'll hopefully seal it up, keep the water to the curb, get it to the catch basins, get it to the lake, and not soak into the road and buckle the road all year. So that's what MnDOT's doing out there. They're doing it with their staff. It's a lot cheaper. It's not something they do all the time, so they're not professional, pavers that do it every day, but they're doing a pretty good job for the tools that they have, in my opinion. So I did want to share that about MnDOT. And, we just continue to work through. It's week 2 of our summer seasonal labors. We have 21 of them. That can be a lot. Week 2 is a lot better than week 1. If it was a whole summer of week 1s, nobody would ever do it. Yeah. So, but we're getting through it. They're kids, they're learning, but they're doing a great job, and I think you see it around the city. So, it hasn't rained very much, so we're getting caught up and stuff ready. So I'll start to look at the department heads and others for more work going forward. Those are the highlights. So, yeah, thank you. I'll be back.
Thank you.
I gave you a little preview.
City Parks Trails Rec Director, you want to give anything? You want to wait till the end? You have anything to say or add, or?
I can say that Summer Rec, the specialists have started this week with training. They went to lifeguard training and then they did training over at the Armory. So that program will start on Monday the 16th. Just a reminder that it is at the Armory this year, but it will run Monday through Wednesday for the first week because Juneteenth is on Thursdays. That program's gearing up.
Thank you. City Supervisor, Library Supervisor, excuse me. Katie.
Hi, everyone. Quick update from the library. We are now on week 2 of our summer reading program. The theme this year is Level Up at Your Library. We kicked off the program last week with a party that brought 168 attendees and really helped generate some excitement and some early signups. And there's still plenty of time to participate. The program runs for 6 weeks and includes reading goals, early literacy activities, and lots of fun and incentive prizes along the way. At the end of the month, on June 25th, we are hosting the Brodini Comedy Magic Show at 10 a.m. The show offers fun and exciting magic tricks and is a family-friendly program for all ages. And this is a program that's organized and largely sponsored by the Arrowhead Library System. And so if you can't make the date in Chisholm, Brodini will be touring the whole region from June 2nd to the 27th. And then just a quick update on our mural project. Our committee held its second concept revision meeting with the artists last week. It went really well. We're thrilled to announce that the final design will be presented to council at our next meeting on July 9th, and with the hope of the install of the mural scheduled for the last week of July, which would be in conjunction with Dock Moonlight Graham Days. So more details and things to unfold with that.
Excellent. What day was Brodini in Chisholm?
Brodini is at the Chisholm Library on June 25th at 10 a.m. He's pretty good. We've had him. He was there, gosh, like 5, 6, 7 years ago, and he was impressive. The kids loved him.
So did Jim.
And so did Jim. You're more than welcome to join.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
City Attorney? No.
Nothing to report.
Welcome. Welcome back. City Clerk Treasurer, Devin?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just have a few things. We had a solid waste tax audit, which is just like a one-day audit, and they verbally reported that we are charging and paying in our solid waste taxes. So props to our garbage department and specifically Denise, who handles solid waste tax. We received a final pay from the state on the public safety building, which we've been waiting for quite a while, and it's welcome because now we have a lot of these other pay apps coming in for all these other projects, which will help out with cash flow. And our auditors for the financial statements start in a week and a half on the 23rd. Other than that, I've just been working on grants and reimbursements and prepping for those auditors to come. You can take any questions if anybody has anything.
City Administrator, Stephanie, good evening.
Good evening. I do not have a report tonight.
Okay, Council will look for a motion of support for consent agenda, which consists of a list of bills, communications, minutes of previous city council meetings. Councilor Fulton had pointed out that there is one correction that needs to be made on page 4 under the Chisholm Sports Club ATV request ride event and citywide festival. Actually, is that she's the one that made the motion, and Councilor Halverson is the one who seconded that. So, with that correction, I would look for a motion of support.
Oh, no, sorry.
Second. Thank you, April. Thank you, Jed. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Any unfinished business? Hearing none, move on. Police Chief. Chief Lukat, welcome back.
Mr. Mayor, Council, 3 items on the list or on the agenda tonight. First item is just more informational, a list of gambling applications for a bunch of raffles in town. The list is in front of you. Chisholm Chamber, and then of course the Fishing with Vets organization. So I don't believe there's anything that has to be done. It's more for informational purposes. Second item on the agenda is just resolution 0625-50, approving the premise permit license for the Rock Ridge Youth Hockey Association to conduct bingo at the St. Louis County Fair, which is Thursday, July 31st, 2025.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, April.
Second.
Thank you, Marty. Any further discussion?
I have a question for Chief. Is that rotated between different entities year by year, or?
I believe so. This year they chose to use that entity.
Okay.
So they have the ability to, anyone who has a current gambling license can offer that, depending on the type of licensure they have.
I mean, at the fair, is it rotated?
It's been different every year, I think. So
Alright.
I don't think they've used that organization before, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And then the last item I have on the agenda, just a motion to declare a citywide festival for the St. Louis County Fairgrounds property during the St. Louis County Fair from July 30th to August 3rd. A couple years ago, I'm sure you remember, the Fair Board made some changes with the beer garden where they allowed possession and drinking of alcohol outside of the beer garden itself on fair property. So just to cover our bases, declare citywide festival on the property for the fairgrounds. So
Yeah. Thank you. For a motion and support?
Make a motion.
Thank you, Marty.
Support.
Thank you, Jed. Any further discussion?
So, yeah. I don't like this. I don't know if this happened last year and I just wasn't here or if I'm oblivious to it, but that's an awful big area to allow alcohol to be at all times. That's my concern, obviously, with the kids there. But I guess if it's past practice, I don't know. I mean, I thought the last I remember is we made them contain it in the beer garden, and you couldn't take it out of there. But I could be wrong, and then that's okay. I'm not sure I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah, I know they came just, it's always been allowed in the beer garden, and I think it was just last year, or was it the year before last year?
So I guess what I would say to add to that discussion is, I definitely appreciate your concerns, obviously, given what I do for a living. We didn't have any issues last year. I would say it was a little different last year with the weather and that kind of stuff, probably played a factor in that as well. And of course, you never know what's going to happen. I will also say that we will have a presence up there this year again, as we always do. So we will be obviously looking for and enforcing things that, and addressing issues that arise, so. But ultimately, it's up to you folks to make that decision, so.
So can we have a couple of fair people walking up and down Main Street, as we block off Main Street too? Include that in the citywide festival?
No. You know, I think I was the one that was cautious about it last year. But, yeah, I believe we had citywide festival, we had the, you know, the sliding downtown, you know, some kids are around, and obviously the population's a lot less than that, but,
Right. And I believe their process still, they still issue wristbands for those that are of age. So, and they're pretty passionate about the rules, regulations. They've, you know, the Fair Board itself, they came up with a emergency preparedness plan. They worked with EMS Director Larson and I in the fire department with that as well. So they have a lot to bring to the table as far as that part of it goes. So myself, I have my own reservations, but again, it's a council decision. So.
I just also want to add that they do still have the beer garden, and it's only sold within the beer garden, so there's not like, if you go to State Fair where you can have, you know, octane alcohol, wherever, they still have it in the beer garden, they have to go in, they get ID, they get wristband, just to explain the process of it.
I could share, I mean, we can look into it if we needed. Sure, talk to the attorney. But, I was just looking under state statute 314.09 for personal adult use of cannabis.
Mhm.
And, it does say in, number 9, you know, they have to, go by the Clean Indoor Act,
Mhm.
or outdoor Act,
Sure.
whatever it is. So there can't be any location where the smoke, aerosol, or vapor would be inhaled by a minor.
Mhm.
So that, well, that's like my only really big concern. I think they should be able to have it and use it and do what they please.
this is just alcohol.
Oh, well, this says possession and possession.
Oh, alcohol.
Possession of your alcohol.
Alcohol.
Oh, so not cannabis? Oh, well, you know what? You got me.
I appreciate
Got
you.
me.
I appreciate you.
Yeah,
Any other questions, discussion?
so they can't smoke up then.
No, there's no
I'm
smoking.
just asking.
Any further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. That's all I have. Appreciate it.
Jim?
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. If you'll turn to page 16, please. And this is for pay application number 7 for the interior work at our ice arena. And if you would, go over to columns D and E, work completed. Column D is previous work before this pay application, and then specifically column E, where the work completed during this period. As you see, there's some additional funds paid for the mobilization project management item number 2, which brings them up to about 2/3 of that particular fee for that particular item. But the major items then you see are items 3, 4, and 5, dealing with the refrigeration system, the sports arena floor, and then the curling rink floor. Such that when you get to the bottom of that column, you see the work completed during this period amounts to $419,373.90. And if you add that to the previous column of that previous work of a little over $2.236 million, and then go over to column G, you'll see the total work completed and to date now totals $2,656,193.62, which in the next column you see represents just under 48% of the project. So we're near the halfway point in terms of the work or the funds expended, the value of the work expended to date. And then if you'll turn back to the previous page, page 15, you'll see those same numbers repeated for this pay application. Item number 1 is the original contract amount of just over $5.5 million. Going down to item 4 then is that work completed to date that we just talked about of $2,656,193.62. The retainage that comes out of the work items, but not out of the management and design work, so it's not really 5%, but rather 4.24%. But that retainage now totals $112,496.01. You see the total earned then to date, less that retainage, being just under $2.55 million. Previous payments amounting to $2,145,292.41, such that the current payment due amounts to $398,405.20. I would recommend approval of that amount of payment and would be happy to answer any questions that I can in that regards. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. All right, council, let's start. I'd look for a motion and support to approve pay application number 7.
Motion.
Thank you, Jim.
Support.
Thank you, Travis. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the council. Then if you'll turn on to page 17, we have the proposal from SEH and LE for providing the construction services for that mill and overlay project, or the street reconditioning project that we talked about earlier this evening, that we anticipate occurring next week. On pages 18 and 19, then you do see the scope of services, the proposed schedule, and that schedule can be updated to hopefully begin next week and be completed next week, weather permitting, such that hopefully we can bring back one pay application, being the final pay application at your July meeting. You see the payment is a maximum cost not to exceed on an hourly cost basis. We should be able to save substantially with the proposed schedule the contractor has given us. So we pay specifically on an hourly basis for the actual work provided. With that, I would be happy to answer any questions. We do have Ellie Lemke from SEH here if you have any questions of her, but I would recommend approval of this proposal for construction services on our street reconditioning project in the amount of $26,000. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Council, if there's no questions, I look for a motion and support to approve the SEH proposal for construction services on the 2025 street reconditioning project, an amount not to exceed $26,000.
Motion.
Thank you, Jim.
Second.
Thank you, Jed. Any further discussion?
I just have a question.
Sure, Jim.
You go by Ellen or Ellie? Am I hearing him?
I usually go by Ellie.
Okay.
I'm only
So,
Ellen.
I see Matt Reed's name on here. Did you replace Matt Reed?
Matt Reed is my manager.
Oh, okay. Okay.
She's the brains of the operation, Jim. It's
I
like
know
any
that.
good secretary.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor. And then if the council would turn over to pages 28 and 29, this is our 2025 Fifth Street Southwest, our South project between 2nd Avenue and 4th Avenue, which Ellie is again project manager on that. And if you go over to the final columns, you'll see the work to date, and this being the first pay application, you'll see we pay, Marty, you had a question last time regarding mobilization. We don't pay 100% right up front on that because contractors would take the money and run and not do any work. So it gets spread out over time. But we pay for mobilization, but you'll see most of the items going down then are for removal, salvaging of items, setting up the temporary water system, temporary water service, setting up the traffic control, storm sewer and outlet control. And as you go over to page 29, then again in that last column, you'll see that the summary total of the work completed through the end of May is $111,820.49. There's no change order at this point. Then we reduce or retain 5% of that amount, amounting to $5,591.02, such that the recommended payment due is now $106,229.47. And I would recommend approval of pay application number 1 in that amount. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. And again, Ellie is here if you have questions of her. Thank you.
Also, if there's no questions, I'd look for a motion and support to approve pay application number 1 in the amount of $106,229.47.
Make a motion.
Thank you, Jed.
Support.
Thank you, Jim. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Carries. Jim? Hey, Larry.
All right, starting on page 30. Thanks for letting me prep you. Again, I will start with the highlights, some of the action items that we can do right away. And if you remember right, these studies went back to the June 2024 storms that we arguably had 9 inches of rain in a short amount of time. And all the communities, many communities across Iron Range had experienced the same as us with flooding, basements flooded. Their sanitary sewer systems were overwhelmed. There was emergency pumping and all that. So that's what, again, this stems from. So from study number 1, which was work order number 1, which is the I&I report, we started with 100 manholes. The 100 manhole inspections that are closest to the water level. So when that lake water level comes up, where are these affected? And I was on 2nd Avenue. I know Mayor Lance was on the call that night with the fire department. They were more down on 1st Avenue. We were in water up to our waist, right? So many of you remember, some of you were outside, some of you heard or seen pictures on the internet that. So we inspected 100 manholes, and 9 of them are in poor or failing condition. And we do about 5 to 7 manholes a year of general maintenance. Public Utilities Commission, usually mostly authorizes those repairs and stuff. So we're going to bump that up this year and do all 9 that we identified. So that's step number 1 of this great study. That we've identified these 9 out of 100, and these are actually closest to the lake even. So they're within that, those I&I problems that we see. So we're starting with that. Pump technology has come a long ways than it was even in 2012 when our lift station was built. So we're upgrading 1 pump right now, and our pumps are about 2,100 gallons a minute. We have 3 of them, so 6,300 gallons. And just by upgrading 1 pump, we go from 2,100 to 2,700 gallons a minute for a slight upgrade. And it's because of the technology of pumping and variable speed frequency drives and that. So just trying to throw some numbers out there. So from 2,100 to 2,700 just by upgrading 1 pump. So then we'll put that pump in the hole and we'll pull one out that needs repair and we'll upgrade that pump. So we'll get more pumping capacity, which will alleviate these flooded basements. We can actually pump more sanitary sewer when we need to. And we hope not to, but if we need to, we'll be more ready. So pump technology, that's what we learned out of this too. That's a huge one. Another one was this, they just found, we didn't know there was foundation drains at the school going in the sanitary system. That's huge building, huge property. Who knows how many, hundreds, thousands of gallons and these big rain events could be going in sanitary. These little repairs, it all helps. So, and then general maintenance too. We have a new manhole we're using that's gasketed, and some of them even bolted down. Again, if we do get these conditions of flooding in the city, those are more sealed and they're allowing less in the sanitary sewer system. So less we have to pump, less that may go in a basement. So we're using new manholes and we've identified where those manholes should go. In the study that we did, with these manhole inspections, they're the ones closest to the lake. That when the water level does come up, they're the ones affected. So we're doing those first. And then lastly, really, this just helps us tremendously with long and short-term planning and, just helping identify those failures and those weak points. So I'll open it with that. I just wanted to go over the highlights. I know there's a lot of information. It's a 27-page study. It means a lot to the sewer people. It means a lot to the water. It means a lot to many different things, all the way over the sanitary district where we pump all of our sewer and they treat it over there. So with that, please, any comments are welcome. And we can talk after, before, whenever you want. So.
Yeah, I'm always able to fill the questions, concerns, or as long as there's a lot of information on these. The hardest part was going back and forth and memorizing what the acronyms stand for.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
So I did a lot of double reading on this, but then I read the report before I even went through your cover page, and I think you did a really good job actually bullet pointing, because I made a bunch of notes of my questions that are actually kind of covered on here. And one thing I didn't think about with a lot of this too was the water that's actually seeping back into the manhole that's going to the sanitary sewer, where it's not actually hitting for your stormwater drains.
That's
So,
right.
It took me a couple minutes to actually wrap my hand around what was going on there. Are any of those 9 on that Second Avenue side, or is it kind of alleviated on that First Avenue?
They are mostly on the northwest side of the lake, all the way around the lake and towards Heritage Manor. If you walk down at the lake walk on the west side, northwest side of the lake, you go over the bridge and there's a couple manholes you can see, right? You can see those. Those are 2 of them.
Okay.
So those will actually get chimney seals, and it's like a shrink wrap, so that'll help with those too. So those are actually around the lake, over towards Heritage Manor and everything. So those low-lying areas around the lake.
I just have a comment. I was blown away when you said only 9 were bad.
Of the 100, yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yes.
I was expecting to hear like 99.
Yes, I know. Yes, and they're very expensive, so it was a
I know.
relief. Yeah.
Okay.
Larry, sorry.
Yep.
Good.
Thanks for providing the maps too. So after the manholes are done, were you guys gonna look into the D2 and the B and C?
Yep. We tackle the stuff we can first, and we keep scheduling and keep working out. Maybe next year it's another 100 manholes. Or maybe it's 150, or maybe it's 50. So we tackle what we can first, and we just keep working out from there. And as Chisholm gets older, things happen, right? There's a collapse or there's something. So we reevaluate, reprioritize, and we just keep working.
Any other questions?
A lot of it is in the lower areas of town. These ones where it's being ditched, and bigger priorities are
Where it goes. The collectors.
The whole point is
Yeah.
within that drainage basin or that drainage area is where we're. Is the low hanging fruit that we're going after first, and the rest of it becomes a prioritization. Moving to the rest where you're having a little less impact, but still needs to be addressed.
B2 is around the lake. I can see how it curved right there. 75% contribution
Yeah.
elemental.
Yeah. I know. Yep.
Or,
Yep.
yeah. And then B and C, it was the worst effects of the smoke testing of the storm water drain, right? So what would you do
You
for
just
that?
fix. You just identify and fix. They're just failures from 100 years ago. And we actually, like they alluded to here, this man Esty alluded to, it was common. It was common to put your foundation drains into the sanitary. Dilution is the solution, they used to say at the treatment plants, right? Dilute it, and then they would let it go. But they can't do that anymore. They have to treat it, right? But that used to be common, so we still see it today. It's still there. It's just like a lesser of a priority, So, like if we lived in a suburb with all the houses that were built after 1960 or 70 or 80, there's even no basements. So it's all slab on grade. So there are no foundation drains, things like that. So, we just keep fighting. And, we just reprioritize work. We get those low-hanging fruit, the things that can make the most amount of impact, the things with value, more value than others, and we just keep doing it.
I have a question for Jim or Larry. These 9 manholes, I'm sure are gonna help, but are they gonna be a big help?
It
Or is-
it all helps. It does. It really does. Yep. A little here, a little there, pretty soon adds up to a lot. Just like these, even these manhole covers I tell you about, they're $400 for a new casting and a cover, a gasketed cover, and a pick hole that the sewer guys use to pull that off. That hole can leak 6 gallons a minute. Yeah, so that times that by an hour, right? And then times that by 100 of them, right? So just these new gasketed lids for $400 each is significant. One of those pick holes is 6 gallons a minute. Start adding all that up with with now these other manholes and these foundation drains from the school and these other things, and they add up. So we're doing well. Our flows at the sanitary district, they do not see what they seen, 5 and 10 years ago. We're doing well. We are. Yeah.
With that manhole, you were talking about manhole covers, is there insert then below that manhole cover that will
Yep.
stop
Yep.
all of that?
There is. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure that.
Yeah, they're
I
not.
was reading that
There
right.
is, and they're not. They don't like them in our area because they fill with water and they seal. Well, then they freeze, and then you can't get them open in the wintertime. So you got to heat and chisel and stuff, and then you wreck stuff. Yeah. So it's not a great practice, but yeah. So you go over some other things that can help alleviate that. You don't do as much of that.
How many gallons of stormwater do we process in the sewer plant? Like a typical area event? Is it like 350,000?
Oh no, it's millions. It's millions. Yeah. Like our normal flows are like 500,000 a day. Between
That's what the day
yep,
is.
yep. For 500,000 a day is a normal day. Like today, it hasn't rained. No large events, but we've seen millions. 6 million a day, 7 million a day. That's not very often, but it happens. But that's a lot.
Next question. Are they gonna move into some of the other low-lying areas in town to look at those?
Yep, like budget, so what we do now is, this is all off a $90,000 stormwater grant. And so now we evaluate, we come up with the next plan, and then we submit and go from there.
And then, what is the plan for the grant? What are all the work orders? I know we're running 2 are.
That's it so far.
Okay. Do you have a plan for the work order 3, work order 4? Are there gonna be more work orders?
There will be more work orders. I did have a meeting today with the grant administrator, and we'll talk about that in the proposal for cattail removal. He's going to submit. He supports it, and we'll submit it for the next round of funding. And then he said, then we'll talk about what's next. We're still reading this, right? So every time I read it, I reviewed it many times today. I caught something else. So, and the sewer department catches something else, and so new employees catch things. The school, no one knew about foundation drains at the school. We actually assumed that there was I think I understand it. We always assumed when they drained the pool that it actually went into the storm sewer system, but I don't believe it did. It actually went into the sanitary. And you're draining 100,000 gallons of water in the sanitary for no reason. You could have pumped it out in the street, right? So it would have been to the lake. So those types of things. It just changes all the time.
Was the liner suggestion, was that in this inspection or is that the next one?
For these 9 manholes,
Yeah, for the liners that they talked about, is that, these are just the covers, right, for these 9 manholes, or it could be the inserts or spray?
oh, we do that all the time. We have 12 of them in stock all the time.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
This the umbrella seal, right? Yeah. Yep.
It's a standard detail in our replacement project. We have the shrink wrap, including the adjustment rings, top of the cone, the adjustment ring, the casting itself, and then what it's talking about, the covers and all respect that they're concealed tables, no holes there, any longer, and not necessarily.
Well, so I was talking about like the liner, that it seemed like in the report, it was like the actual liner, I think you guys said you guys would do your own taping and mudding or whatever on the inside?
We contract that out.
Oh, you do?
Yep. It's like a spray foam, if you
Yeah.
will. Yep.
Okay.
And it's like a PVC pipe. It ends up like a fixed PVC pipe.
And you guys doing multiples of those a year too?
Yep. Every year we've been doing them since I've come. Yep. It's usually 5 to 7. We'll bump that up this year and do all 9 in the report.
Any other questions? Good work.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I know it's a lot. So then work order number 2 really focused on the lake. And the lake, and then again, the high points. Besides those manholes, and as the water comes up, right, it covers those 100 manholes and a significant I&I. So we're looking at getting the water out of the lake sooner. And with that, the main recommendation was cattail removal and management. If you were to stand down there, you would see, you can't just see the lake. It's plugged. There's just, the outlet is plugged with the cattails, and it just filters and slows. And I believe it's the biggest bang for the buck and can help us in these situations. So when I stood down there in the water, and I know Mayor Lance did down the street, and the manholes are blowing off, the lids are blowing off, and it's coming out this high, it's because it can't get it into the lake. It's full. So this helps get the lake gone. That's the high point. There's a lot of information there about a 2006 study. That the pinch point, I would argue one of my bullet points would be the pinch point in 2006 report was actually the culverts, and there was a recommendation to add a third culvert. Now, when you see the picture of me in the water, and I went directly that day and went over to those culverts, and that was the picture I took at that exact same moment, and those culverts were not full. That's why I say the cattails need to go, so the culverts can again be the pinch point. That's one of my bullet points.
Yeah, this is the one I called you about, because the report I had a problem with was, it seemed like it was kind of contradicting itself, as far as what is happening. But I think the biggest point, after discussing with you, Larry, was that, we look at these culverts, while there was 4 feet of water in the streets, that these weren't, overcapacitated on the exit.
Right. I did reach out to them today because, they're final reports, but we're looking for feedback from everyone. It could be a resident, it could be the Public Utilities Commission that's under review, they've been reviewing, you're reviewing. This is fluid. I mean, this can change. So she did say that she could have worded this different. We could have added some things. For example, when you see statements like most of the manholes, it should have said most of the manholes that we inspected or within the study. Again, we did 100. We have over 500 manholes. So when they say this isn't significant, it's not as significant to the 100 manholes that we did inspect, not the whole city as a whole. So it's hard. It really, really is hard.
The biggest thing I took away with, obviously, cattails, the water get out a little bit quicker. I mean, that's not going to help anything with the I&I, but it's going to hopefully get the water out so it's not backflowing into the streets or it's coming into those sewers.
Yes, exactly. That's the hope.
But I had a real hard problem on that when they're saying that, during this event, the water wasn't, backflowing into the manholes. Like, I absolutely was standing there.
Yep.
To my waist.
And I did highlight a bunch of information here, Mayor, because I know some of these questions that could come up. And actually, she actually states in the study that there was the Hibbing report of the, it was reported down on 2nd Avenue where I was that there was 9 1/4 inches by 2 different people, plus a little bit across town. So a third person was 8 inches. But Hibbing only reported like 2.5, 3 inches. That's nothing compared to what we actually had. So, and you can contest to that. So that study also doesn't reflect that. She just couldn't put the data in there. She states it, that I stated it, and there multiple other residences did. But what she really went off was that there was a, 50-year storm at 5 1/4 inches or whatever. So it is worded a little. It could have been a little bit better. If she was here, that she wrote the report, she could explain it much more easily than me, so.
Okay, the first work order looks good to me, I think that was good. I have a lot of issues with their report on work order 2. And I would really appreciate if we could sit down with HR Green and kind of hash them out a little bit more.
Absolutely.
At some point, and get input from Jim, yourself, the input on council, Taken down. You know, I've been involved with this in the past, many years ago, it was 20 years ago, but I'm not convinced that the channel and the outlet in the Catskills is necessarily the culprit. I know when we had flooding in 1994, similar event, south side of town's underwater. The culverts at the bike trail were the hook point, but the lake was way up. I mean, it was way higher than I think we saw in more recent floods. And it was definitely choked at the trail. And dredging's been looked at before, I remember looking at dredging before. And it always came down to, well, DNR's gonna get really picky about it, a lot of permitting, is there wetland permits, the cost, and are the catch-alls gonna grow back in a couple of years? I think if we can get Green to do a little bit more on the analysis side, have them do a real thorough analysis. I mean, they have this picture in here, but they didn't really run engineering analysis of the channel, the pipes, and the street pumps, the movements, culverts, and the 67. And it's not that expensive a time consuming, but I'd rather see them do a thorough engineer analysis of the hydraulic conditions and mechanics of what's going on there before we jump into a dredging project. And say we do increase the outflow, is that gonna impact Redhead and the ATV trail and the Wasabi Trail? Because we had our flood 3 years ago, the Wasabi Trail was underwater for a week, so was the ATV trail under the bridge, and Redhead and washed out, we're still dealing with that. I know that literally, we send water faster, or we just can send it from downstream, so I think, you know, they can analyze the lake, the outlet, the creek going down, all the culverts, and give us a real thorough evaluation of it. They've got a good start here, but I don't think they've really done sufficient analysis to come to these types of conclusions that we should go into. Because once you start getting into that, it can get real complex with the permitting, with the DNR, and what can we do, what can't we do, are we going to mitigate the wetlands, if we can pay for that, and the cost of the dredging. So I think we can learn a lot with just a little bit more analysis.
So if I could, Marty, so the last paragraph of the study does say exactly what you speak of. An additional study could be conducted to investigate, you know, how long your lake, you know, right? To that, dredging, just so you know, is not included. It's cattail management and removal. It has nothing to do with dredging at this time. This is the low-hanging fruit suggestion when we considered all the facts that we knew of, so.
Well, what kind of caught my eye right away was you said, you're basically concluding that, well, the lake elevation has some impact on I&I, but it's, you know, it's not real huge. Like during the flood, obviously interval is a big deal, but the lake elevation itself wasn't a big impact. But then they turn around and say, well, we need to get more water out of it. So seems to be, you know, we got those dredging, it contradicts. It's a contradiction. And so that's why I really don't believe we should be jumping into Catskill removal yet until we get more information from HR Green. And I would go as far as to say is, we don't have good records of a lot of our storm sewers in town, especially up at the ball fields and Third, Second Street Northwest, in that whole area. They're almost non-existent. We know there's catch basins, and there's probably pipes, but I've looked at those maps and know that, I don't know, they don't even know what's going on. So I would investigate our whole storm sewer system and analyze the storm system, and even analyzing the sanitary. We've got, you know, better handle on sanitary sewers, let's do the same thing on storm. And I know that, and where they overlap each other and, you know, interact with each other and during flood situations, so we just get a better handle on where is our hot spots and our real problem areas, and and maybe we'll end up with jacket, but I don't know that we're ready there yet. I'm not convinced that we should jump forward quite yet until we really talk to Green some more and analyze this some more. And especially if we do want more water coming out of the lake, well, we got to be real careful about moving downstream. We've already had bombs downstream.
Well, that downstream problem, Marty, was fixed with a $100,000 culvert project that we did.
Right.
So that's not even a factor anymore.
Well, and now there's already beaver dam. It's gonna happen during the next storm. And who manages beavers in the creek down
The same argument is the same people that are having a problem on Second Avenue and down on First Avenue, and their basements are flooded, and the lift station is overwhelmed, So there hasn't been any maintenance on the lake either. You don't drive a car for 100,000 miles and not do maintenance. There hasn't been any maintenance on the lake either, and this is the low-hanging fruit, and I can speak to it a little bit more if you want on the next on the number 3. So, if I would suggest that all feedback is welcome and warranted. So anybody that has feedback, please email it. I can send it to HR Green, and they can kind of consider it for the final report, and we can just do that. So, and I know what Marty's saying with time and more studies, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're talking a couple years. We have at this time, we have a $90,000 stormwater grant. These work orders get submitted to them. We don't have $100,000 and $190,000. We have this amount of money. This is what we've done so far. I think we're around $50,000, $55,000. We're creeping on that $35,000 left, and so low-hanging fruit is what I want to, just like those 9 manholes, those pick holes, things like that. So the low-hanging fruit. So with that, that's work order number 2, and then I would just have some highlights for the proposal then on the cattail removal and management plan. So I'll highlight that again. I did want to say I had a few things written down in the 2006 study. It did say that the culverts were the pinch point. We can't even fill the culverts right now currently, and some of the problems that we've seen.
We don't know that.
Well, I was there. I can just tell you from what I know.
What was the lake elevation when that was going on?
I can't tell you the exact lake elevation, but I can tell you what the elevation was on Second Avenue because I had a picture of it. And Mayor Lance can tell you on
We don't
First
have a
Avenue.
complete picture, that's my point.
Well, all I can tell you is what I have and what the pictures that I do have and the support. So I have that. So I'm convinced that the water can't get out of the lake soon enough to prevent what we've seen on First and Second Avenue and these 100 manholes that are being flooded around the lake when the lake does come up. Besides zero maintenance of the lake, that nobody can ever confirm that there was ever any maintenance of the lake. We have if I could, we have the proposal from Kurt. He's the wetland, CK Wetland Services. He lives in Chisholm. He's very familiar with Chisholm. He lives on Second Avenue even. He was there that day that we speak of. He actually went and looked and reviewed. He's a wetland specialist. He has a storefront in Chisholm. Very convenient. And being from Chisholm, he heard my proposal. I met with him. He went and looked. He agrees that the cattails are a problem. With that, he said he would submit the permit to the DNR and see if the DNR agreed. He did submit the permit for the cattail removal and management, and the DNR agreed and issued a permit within days. Phil Novikic he's the grant administrator at, which Jed knows in that there. I talked to him today. He said he's not in a position to write a letter to support it, but he said he will support it and move it forward for grant approval, the work for grant approval. So he is a stormwater specialist, but again, he is not in a position to write a letter, but he said today that him and his staff agreed, his staff manager agreed that although they do concentrate on retaining water, that he said this would qualify for the grant because of the I&I. So I have that support. I'm not a professional myself in stormwater, so I have to take, the people that have reached out, the experiences I've dealt with, I've seen, and I just have to go with that. Again, low-hanging fruit. For $13,000, you get a permit and you do cattail removal. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars for other studies and time. We're just the next storm away from continued problems, in my opinion.
So
my opinion, going through the previous two studies and kind of adding everything up, I mean, to go through all the manholes and the replacement and do the spray lining you're talking about, you know, it looked like that was upwards of $100,000,
Yep.
if not more. Doing all the manhole covers was $80-some thousand to go around to do all of them. So, especially when my phone's ringing off the hook with people who are afraid of the next rainfall, they're afraid to read, you know, we have some money here now, and like I said, if something was happening during that event, you know, the water was not, you know, like I said, I can't speak to the elevations, I just know it was there, and we haven't done anything yet besides, by scoping, checking out the sewers, you know, we went through Second Avenue on that time, and everything was clean as a whistle, because everything had been blown through in that area, so I would definitely jump on the opportunity to do something. When you say it's not gonna be the end all be all, but it's, like you said, it's a small little piece. You know, it's like wearing safety glasses underneath a visor. You know, it's just one other step you're gonna take to help prevent something.
Mr. Mayor, too, I mean, look at the condition of the south side of the lake. The grass is, you know, it's grassy everywhere. How deep is actual water, the depth? We gotta dredge it out. Because that creek that's in the backside there goes behind the Public City, then the south there, there's hardly any water flowing out of there when you get any rain events. You know, even right now, it's probably not much water flowing out of there.
So right now, it's just the cattail removal, but, so I think just, yeah, like you said, slowing down, it's just slowing down the exit. Or,
Mr. Mayor?
yes.
Cattail removal isn't to solve the problems on the Second Avenue, but I'm here to tell you, it's not going to make it, look at it.
I don't think it's gonna be the absolute fix, but I don't think it can hurt, and it definitely wouldn't prevent it from, you know,
We
being one
need
step closer.
information, we need solid information, we need engineering information, we don't need anecdotal information. This money we better spend, put this $15,000 towards the actual study, that actually gives us factual information. We're not, in my opinion, we're not ready to jump into this, I'm not ready to jump into this.
I have a question about the culverts.
Yep.
Nobody wants to talk about them. Have those been cameraed?
They're good. Yeah, you can walk them.
They're clear.
Yeah, you can walk right through them, or well, you can crawl through them.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Some people could walk their own.
Yeah. Yeah, no, really, it's one.
I was just curious if the culverts were plugged
Yep.
a little bit, that's why they were.
No.
Capacity, that's all.
They've been blown out and.
Yep, no, you can crawl right through them. Yeah, they are in good shape.
If there's no other conversation, we're either gonna look for a motion to approve the, cattail removal plan, and then, work with, CK Wetland to work for a grant to pay for that.
Yep.
You know, so hopefully it doesn't cost us anything, but, again, everyone sees that we are, you know, investigating, we are doing due diligence and work. I mean, obviously, there's more studying to do. It's gone through the PUC, seems everyone else kind of agrees that, you know, taking a small step forward is better than standing angle. So, I would look for a motion and support for the cattail removal plan, the amount of $13,980.
Make a motion.
Thank you, Jed. Thank you, Jed. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm opposed.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. And then, citywide cleanup again. We are super excited about it. It's so worth it. People appreciate it so much, all the way to tears we've seen sometimes. So we will accommodate, we will help. We have summer staff to help you lift your stuff out of your vehicle. We will even come to your residence and help in certain situations. We keep the fee very cheap, but we make it so it's able, right? $10, we'll come get a dresser or a mattress or a refrigerator or something like that. So very affordable. So these are half, these prices are half of what it costs you to bring it to the dump, like for a mattress, for say, and those things. The garbage business has changed a lot. Things that used to be recyclable are no longer recyclable. Mattresses have to be torn apart and separated in a factory down in Duluth. So it's very expensive to get rid of a mattress. It's just not garbage and get buried anymore. So recycling. So, but anyway, July 7th through the 11th, same as usual. Monday, Wednesday, Friday till just till 3 o'clock. But then Tuesdays and Thursdays we're open late, almost till 7 o'clock. So, and we'll help you bring your stuff down. I know you'll be down with trailers and trucks and just sometimes dragging it in, so we'll do everything we can to help you get rid of it. Right, April?
Yes.
And I know there's people saving up, so bring it down and we'll help you get rid of it, so. Yeah, anything on that?
Yeah, I asked my wife if we had anything, and she said, not this time.
Yeah, and I bet you can find something, Jim.
If I look hard, but she said no, so I don't have to look.
Okay. You won't win the fight, so don't even try.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Larry.
Okay, Devin, next. Good evening.
Good evening. Page 75, resolution number 0625-51, just the formal acceptance of the donation from the town of Vulcan for $1,500, which will be earmarked for the Chisholm Parks and Rec Department for programming costs. So just look for your approval.
Thank you, Devin. Council, look for a motion in support for resolution 0625-51.
Motion.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, April. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Stephanie.
Good evening. The item I have on the agenda today is resolution number 0625-52. The hiring committee for the Parks, Trails and Recreation Director is bringing forth the top applicant, who is Colin Luke. He is currently in the background for the city's requirements for employment here. If all goes well, his first day will be July 7th. So we're excited to have him be part of the team.
Excellent. Council, I look for a motion to approve resolution 0625-52 and welcome Colin Luke into our staff.
Make a motion.
Thank you, Jed.
Support.
Thank you, Travis. Any further discussion? Right?
Could you provide a little bit about his background, experience, education, where he's at? Any registered?
Sure.
Good job.
Yep, so he is currently working at UMD in their intramural sports. He works with their sports programming there, and then also does there's a summer kids program that he works with. Without having his resume in front of me, I believe he has a master's in sports management, and brings just a wealth of knowledge on organized sports, and has a passion for outdoor recreation. And he has a minor in marketing. Hope I didn't misspoke without having the information in front of me.
You're right.
Yeah, no.
Is that a
You're
good
right.
synopsis?
Yep.
Any experience on the trains or biking or hiking?
Yeah, I mean, he seems open to that, and, yeah. Yeah. So I think he has a well-rounded background for this position.
It might be well rounded, but does he have any park experience? Sports with parks?
As far
I mean,
as.
our parks department that Bridget ran. All right. Does he have any
The
experience
only real.
in that kind of thing?
I won't speak for you, but I was on the committee, and the only real experience he doesn't have is he's never managed a mountain bike park. He's done everything else to some degree of what was in the job description, except for run a mountain bike park. So that there's not many people that you can find that run a mountain bike park.
Well, I agree.
So,
Especially at that
no,
time.
but, yeah.
But he's willing to learn.
He's willing to learn. He's young. He's got a little bit of experience with grants. I think he's going to do well.
Okay. Well, you mentioned, the work with the kids and the programs, most of our, a lot of our Parks and Rec, I'd just like to thank the committee that did this. I believe you guys had over 70 applicants. Yeah. So that's, again, people want to be here. It's good. It's good to see. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Moving on, Councilor Alderson.
Good evening. This is.
You gotta go down, page 81.
Okay. Past years, I've had a live music event at my house. The very first year, we closed the whole block, but subsequent years, we just closed kind of this parking lane. There's just so many people that want to come that maybe it's better to block the whole street. So the request is to block the street from 2 PM to 9 PM for the citywide festival, so people don't get trouble for drinking beer in the street. And we request a couple dozen orange cones from Public Works, and like place them at the ends of the block, place another big set of cones right in front of the house, just to, I mean, I think it's okay if people come park, the local residents, and Cat gave me a nice letter that I could help to distribute to our neighbors, and I think we'll, they can park on the street, we just don't want people driving right through the massive crowd.
Right? You gotta pick a new weekend, Marty, I'm gone this weekend, so.
Well, I actually moved it to accommodate some other people. Oh, usually would be 3 to 7, 3 to 8, but close it off probably about 2 o'clock and get everybody cleared out by 8, 9 o'clock. Like 2 to 9, we should plenty of time to close it down, get people to come in and clear them out afterwards. Actually, we can be bigger afterwards. So, appreciate your support.
I know it's always nice to have a, an event or something fun around that, and, I talked with Vern, that's why I reached out to, Chief, earlier when I talked to Vern in the past, was, they have the right to block off the street or to grant that, request. I know we did it last year for a gal down on the, southwest side, Second Street, I think it was, having a retirement party, so it's nice to be able to do something like that, and yeah, obviously, you're already gonna be working with the neighbors, so.
I send flyers, I put flyers in their door every year, so none of that includes Jeff's, so I can go to really nice letter. That's all, with the flyers.
Okay. All right, Council, I would look for a motion and support to approve the request for street closure from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. on the 300 block Southwest First Street and declare a citywide festival for that block.
Motion.
Thank you, Jim.
Support.
Thank you, Jed. Thank you, Jed. Any further discussion?
I have a statement
Yep.
about tonight's meeting.
Yeah.
I was on council a few years ago, for 4 years, and so far this year. I've never, ever had a night where I sat at a meeting where we had 3 requests for citywide festivals for a block, or the fair, or Tom and Jerry's. So, things are probably changing that I'm not gonna like, but.
I know you like to encompass the whole town. Yeah,
I do.
we do that. All right, I appreciate that. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion
I
carries.
abstain.
That Marty abstains. Probably good practice. Okay. Moving on, informational here. This came over, I believe that they wanted it to be an action item. I know it's the attached letter of intent to purchase property from the Chisholm Hibbing Airport Authority. The city of Hibbing is looking to purchase the land that encompasses the dog,
Airway in.
no, it's the dog, the impound place, the pound. There's a better word for it nowadays. The Humane Society of the pound, right? So this property, when I did talk with Barrett Zemer, who was in charge over there, he said that the city of Hibbing originally went to the airport authority and requested that they lease the property from them so they could use this property. The airport authority said, yes, we're not currently using it, we don't have plans right now, no harm in leasing it to you. They never had an intention of selling that property to the city of Hibbing, and getting rid of property when you have the potential to use something in the future is not always best practice. So they didn't know how the board was going to sit, so he did ask if we could leave it informational and see how our representatives tolerate that meeting and see what kind of information they come back with us. At the end of the day, I don't think it's anything that there's no hills that anybody wants to die on, but there's no reason why they couldn't continue to lease the property as well. So as this informational, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I can get you in contact with Barrett, or you can reach out to any of our board members of the Chisholm Hibbing Airport Authority. Any questions?
I can't believe that one, that they even approached the airport of buying land from an airport.
Well, they've been very busy over there as far as the economic development side of
They're trying.
Hibbing.
Yes,
Yes.
they're trying. So,
Is that kind of their thought here, is that if they buy it, they better shot at some developments or?
Yep. Yeah, if it's theirs, they can market it and hopefully drive something up. Obviously, it would have to fall in whatever umbrella that the FAA has for the property surrounding, and I think it's actually kind of outside that area. But still, you know, the Chisholm Hibbing Airport Authority could use that for developmental purposes, kind of like they did with DMR, where the money can actually come back into the Chisholm Hibbing Airport Authority, you know, and help, you know, fund infrastructure projects or, you know, anything like this, so. Always something going on at the Chisholm Hibbing Airport. All right, moving on. I don't know if I can say Chisholm Hibbing Airport Authority one more time. Okay, after that, we have the request from Joshua Akey for declare a citywide festival outside of Tom and Jerry's, you know, from 1 to 1. I will just say the past practice we've had was, you know, we were granted permission for gyms to go until 11 p.m. You know, kind of being respectful. It's summertime, people like to be outside, people work shift work, different areas, so, you know, I think 11 is still a good practice to follow. One thing that PD also did point out when Vern was here is that we cannot give permission to break that noise ordinance. You know, we can, there are noise ordinances in place all day long, and then it's strictly enforced at 10 p.m. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but even after 10 p.m., if somebody calls and complains, it's going to be our officer's duty to come and tell you to turn the volume down. So even with permission from the council, we still have to, you know, follow those practices. So I think it's gonna be a fun event. You know, if you can get some music out there, you know, definitely opportunity for some acoustic jamming, and, you know, like I said, local artists come out and play, and, you know, brings a, you know, a nice event to the citizens of the community. I would definitely support, you know, a citywide festival from 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. and closure of the street, you know, before and after, to be worked out with Larry. Yeah, if anyone else has any input or?
Make a motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Jed.
Second.
Thank you, April. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So that's 11 p.m.
11 p.m., yes. Okay, working session. So, what all needs to be on this, working session? I don't remember what I had brought up at the last meeting. I know there's something. What's that?
We should do emergency services.
Okay. Emergency services, commissions.
And then, the item I have is, we had a request just, which I've talked to them multiple times, just to have an update from MDC and IRRR. So it'd be good to kind of hear what's going on with them.
Okay. Was that emergency services and commissions?
Emergency Services Commissions, yeah.
So one would be emergency services commissions, update MDC, IRRR. Do we want to include these two on here?
From Studio One.
You want that as on this one?
Or you want to wait till August?
Yeah, I'd like to get that, you know, one of the things, and I'm just gonna say, you know, with, we had conversations about the, you know, the rent issue with, you know, the movie studio. Jim, you were not here, so in 2023, at the end of it, there was, you know, the renting strike throughout the middle of it. Matt Roy had come and discussed with us. I did send something to Marie, I'm not sure if it made it to her desk in time for the paper, but, you know, they kind of talked to us about the impact that that was gonna have on their ability to pay their rent, and, you know, with the different bills that they have coming. It was gonna make everything hard, it was gonna delay them, and even after the strike, to get their projects back on track. So at that point, we had grant conveniency, where we're gonna say, all right, we're gonna review these after, you know, you had your projects go on. So they're just starting the projects. I am very interested in having a conversation with them, but I would like that to happen towards the end of summer, you know, let them get the projects underway, and they can give us a better update of what the future holds.
Okay.
And give us a better, explanation of what we think the future holds. So if you don't mind waiting.
That's fair, oh yeah, that's fine.
Well, for MDC, that would be the joint powers agreement, or is that just an update on what they're?
Just what they're doing. I know, it wasn't, Travis had at the last meeting, but it was redhead and it was property rights as far as,
I just think that we should talk about the joint powers agreement at some point.
For the head.
For redhead.
You can have that if you want.
And then also, one I would like to add on here is, the ball fields. And, what I mean by ball fields is obviously they need some work, but also we need to talk about new soccer. And how those play a role in it. Well, I think it's just a generic, I mean, it's public information that Kim and Chisholm are discussing the potential of Chisholm taking over the soccer program. It's not a secret. So obviously, that's gonna play a role. If that were to happen, we would have to have a serious discussion about the baseball field with the grandstand in it. So, I'm not saying it's gonna happen, I'm just saying the discussion is out there.
okay, we can put it on there and we'll
Is it
see
just
what.
the baseball fields or the football fields?
Well, the school owns the football field.
I wasn't here for that either.
No,
Yeah,
that's
we
part of
did
our
a-
land
we
agreement.
did a land on that, so, yeah. So the baseball field's the city.
Okay. I think we put that on there and at least we can get an update and, some direction. Alright, now let's find a date. What's the timeline? Do we want this in June?
Whenever.
And we did, cancel our June 25th meeting, so we could do it, that night at 5:30 PM. I wouldn't, imagine this would last much longer than our, scheduled council meetings.
Which?
July 25th, June 25th?
June?
June 25th?
Fine.
You do 5 o'clock?
I can do 5. Can you guys do 5? Jed, are you off?
Oh, I have to work, but I can swing it.
Okay. April?
Yes.
Travis?
Yep.
Jim?
That's fine.
All right, so I'll look for a motion for working session encompassing with the Emergency Services Commissions, MDC, RRR update, joint powers, redhead, and ball fields and youth soccer for June 25th at 5 PM.
I might be a little late.
Yeah.
All right. Did you say 5?
Yep, 5 PM. If I can get that motion?
I'll make it.
Support. Thank you, Travis. Thank you, Jim. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Anything under miscellaneous? All right, well, at this point, we will recess into a closed session in compliance with statute 13D.03, labor agreement for chief of police. And I'll ask everyone else to leave the council chambers. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate you guys.